In the world of My Hero Academia, everything is defined by power. About 80% of the population has a superhuman ability called a quirk. So, what happens when power itself becomes a paradox? What happens when a force shows up that breaks every single rule, a strength so absolute it can't even be measured, all inside a man who, officially, has no power at all? This isn't the story of the next symbol of peace. This is the story of what happens when a completely ordinary guy achieves the impossible through a ridiculously simple routine, and then finds himself completely and utterly bored by it all. Our story doesn't start with a giant portal or a tear in reality. It begins, like most things with Saitama, in the most mundane way possible. One minute, he's in City Z, sprinting towards a supermarket that's having a legendary sale on king crab. He takes a shortcut through an alley, his mind set on that sweet, affordable seafood. The next minute, he steps out, and the world is different. The buildings look mostly the same, but the people definitely weren't. A woman with dragonfly wings buzzed past him on her phone. A man whose head was literally a concrete block was directing traffic. Saitama just blinked. It was weird, sure, but no weirder than the monsters he dealt with every week. His main feeling wasn't shock or confusion, it was a growing sense of irritation. He looked around. The logos on the stores were all wrong. This wasn't City Z. Which meant he missed the sale. A deep, existential sigh escaped his lips. It was this profound disappointment that led him through the streets of Mizutofu, Japan. He was so lost in thoughts of lost bargains that he barely noticed the rising panic, the screams, and the distant explosions. It was only when a terrified crowd blocked his path that he finally looked up. A massive, slimy green creature had taken a middle schooler hostage. The kid, a furious blonde with explosive hair, was thrashing wildly, setting off blasts inside the monster's body and just making everything worse. Pro heroes were there, but they were stuck. Kamui Woods couldn't find a branch to grab onto. MT Lady was too big for the narrow street. Backdraft was busy putting out the fires Bakugo's explosions were causing. And in the crowd, a skinny, green-haired boy watched in horror, every part of him screaming to do something. Not far away, a skeletal blonde man clutched his side, coughing up blood, his face a mask of helplessness. This was the moment that would define Izuku Midoriya's future. The moment he was supposed to run in, a desperate, quirkless boy trying to save his friend, but he never got the chance. Before Deka's legs could even twitch, a new figure stepped past the police line. A bald man in a cheap-looking yellow jumpsuit. The police yelled at him to get back, that it was too dangerous. Saitama ignored them. This whole villain thing was just annoying. It was loud, messy, and in his way. He just wanted to figure out how to get home. He walked up to the sludge villain, who just gurgled, "Another fool." "I'll swallow you whole." Saitama glanced at the kid, then at the villain. He sighed again, a sound of pure exhaustion. "Can you hurry it up? You're blocking the road." Then, he threw a punch. Not a serious punch. Not even a real punch. It was a casual, lazy swing you might use to swat a fly. For a split second, the world went silent. Then, the sound hit. It wasn't an explosion. It was a single, clean, whump. The sludge villain didn't just splatter, it vaporized. Its entire body disintegrated into a fine mist that vanished instantly. The force of the punch kept going, a shockwave of air that blasted down the street, put out every fire, and tore a hole straight through the clouds. A perfectly clear, blue sky appeared. And then, as the pressure in the atmosphere equalized, it started to rain. The hero stood frozen, jaws on the floor. Katsuki Bakugo fell to his knees, gasping for air, his eyes wide with a terror he'd never felt before. Izuku Midoriya was shaking, his mind totally blank. He hadn't seen a quirk. He'd seen a force of nature in a jumpsuit. All Might, hiding in his withered form, stared with sunken eyes. He had just witnessed a display of power that made his own, the sacred fire of One for All, seem like a tiny candle in a hurricane. And it was done with all the effort of a man changing the TV channel. The aftermath was pure confusion. While paramedics checked on Bakugo, the pro heroes and police surrounded Saitama, firing off questions. "Who are you? What's your hero name? What agency are you with? What in the world was that quirk? Saitama, looking down at his fist, just shrugged. Oh, that? Just a punch. He looked at the stunned faces. Is the road clear now? Death Arms, a pro hero known for his strength, stepped forward. A punch? Don't mess with us. A punch doesn't change the weather. We're taking you in for questioning. Using a quirk that powerful without a license is a major crime. This finally got Saitama's attention, but not how they expected. Quirk? He asked, tilting his head. I don't have one of those. The statement just hung in the air. The heroes looked at each other. Was this guy crazy? Listen, pal, one of the officers said, pulling out cuffs. We don't have time for games. Saitama looked at the cuffs. I'm telling you the truth. I'm just a guy who's a hero for fun. He then explained, in his signature deadpan style, the source of his power. 100 push-ups. 100 sit-ups. 100 squats. And a 10-kilometer run. Every single day. Silence. The heroes and police stared at him as if he'd just announced he was a magical unicorn. In a world where people shot lasers from their belly buttons, the idea that a simple workout could let a man change the weather with a punch was just too absurd to believe. He was taken into custody, mostly because they had no idea what else to do with him. At the station, they ran every test they had. The results only made the mystery deeper. His file came back blank. No citizen registration, no history, nothing. Then came the quirk test. A doctor ran the diagnostics, checked the results, and then checked them again. The answer was clear, negative. According to every known biological marker, Saitama was completely, 100%, undeniably quirkless. That news ripped through the top brass of the hero community. A quirkless man had just shown power far beyond anything ever recorded. It was a paradox that threatened the very foundation of their society. Power came from quirks. That was the rule. This guy broke it. The file landed on the desk of a creature who loved these kinds of puzzles, Principal Nizu of UA High School. The part mouse, part dog, part bear genius felt an intellectual excitement he hadn't felt in years. He arranged a meeting, bringing the one person who might understand the scale of this new reality. All Might. Saitama was sitting in an interrogation room, bored out of his skull. They'd given him tea, which was nice, but he really just wanted to find his apartment. The door opened, and in walked a small, furry creature in a suit and the towering, grinning form of All Might. Greetings. All Might boomed. I am here to have a chat. Saitama just looked at him. You're a big guy. All Might's smile twitched. He was used to awe and reverence, not bland observation. He tried to get a read on Saitama, but all he got back was a wall of serene indifference. Nizu, however, was loving this. Saitama-san, a pleasure. I am Nizu, the principal of UA High. We have a unique situation here. You possess a power that, by all accounts, shouldn't exist. It's fascinating. And also, a little concerning. Saitama scratched his head. Look, I'm not a threat. I just punch monsters. Usually because they're interrupting my day. Is that a crime here? Unlicensed quirk usages, All Might stated, his grin tight, but I don't have a quirk. Saitama repeated flatly. Nizu held up a paw. Precisely. The paradox. We can't, in good conscience, let someone of your caliber wander around unsupervised. Society isn't ready for you. Nizu's eyes twinkled. So, I have a proposition. I want to observe you. To understand you. And the best place for that is my school. I'm offering you a special admission into the UA Hero course, as a student in Class 1. Saitama stared at him. Go back to high school? That sounded like a huge pain. No thanks. School is kinda boring. All Might was about to argue about duty and responsibility, but Nizu just smiled wider. Our cafeteria is famous for its quality. And for students, all meals are, of course, completely free. We even have a fantastic udon bar. Saitama's expression shifted. A tiny glimmer appeared in his eyes. Free, and all you can eat, Nizu added, springing the trap. Saitama thought for a moment. An endless supply of free food versus being lost and broke. The choice was obvious. Alright, he said. I'm in. The next day, Class 1A was buzzing. Ida was trying to get everyone seated, Bakugo had his feet on his desk, and Deku was scribbling away in his hero notebook. Their homeroom teacher, Shota Aizawa, slouched in, looking even more exhausted than usual. Settle down, he grumbled. We have a situation. Due to some highly unusual circumstances, we have a new student joining us. The class started murmuring. A new student this far into the semester, Aizawa sighed. Come in. The door slid open, and in walked Saitama in the standard UA uniform. The blazer was a little tight, the tie was crooked, and he looked less like a hero in training and more like someone's dad who got lost on his way to a meeting. This is Saitama, Aizawa said, with zero enthusiasm. He's complicated. Find an empty seat. Saitama shuffled over to the only open desk, right behind Deku. The whole class stared, judging him. He didn't look like much. Just a bald guy with a blank face. Tenya Ida shot up from his seat. Aizawa-sensei. It is highly irregular to admit a new student so late. Did he pass the same entrance exam as us? His circumstances are special. Ida, Aizawa deadpanned. Drop it. Bakugo leaned back, a nasty grin on his face. Ha! Looks like another worthless extra. Hey, Baldy. What's your quirk? Or are you just some charity case? Saitama looked at him, his expression not changing at all. I don't have a quirk. Bakugo's grin vanished. What did you say? A quirkless loser in the hero course? You've gotta be kidding me. He stood up, explosions crackling in his palms. You think you can look down on me? He lunged, firing an explosion right in Saitama's face, the room filled with smoke. The other students gasped. But when it cleared, Saitama was still standing there, completely unharmed. He hadn't even flinched. He just looked down at his new jacket. Hey! You got soot on this, he said flatly, patting the black smudge. This is gonna be a pain to wash out. Bakugo just froze. His rage had just hit a brick wall. This guy didn't dodge, didn't block, didn't use a defensive quirk. He just took it. And his only concern was laundry. It was the biggest insult Bakugo had ever received, and he didn't even know how to react. Meanwhile, Izuku Midoriya was practically vibrating. He recognized him instantly. It was the man from the sludge villain incident. He was here. In his class. And he was quirkless? It didn't make sense. Is it a nullification quirk? Hyper-regeneration? But then why would he say he's quirkless? Is it a secret? Is he related to All Might? No, his power felt different. He slowly turned around, eyes wide. Saitama-san? I'm Midoriya Izuku. That thing you did. With the villain. It was amazing. Put on your gym uniforms and meet me outside. Aizawa interrupted. We're having a quirk assessment test, outside. Aizawa explained the drill. Bakugo, you were first in the entrance exam. What was your farthest softball throw? 67 meters, Bakugo grunted, still glaring at Saitama. Try it with your quirk. Bakugo wound up and hurled the ball with a deafening die. Powered blast. The device beeped, 705.2 meters. The class erupted in cheers. Fun? Aizawa's hair started to float as his eyes glowed red. You think saving lives is fun? If you think this is a game, you can leave now. The class went silent, the tests went on. Uraraka got infinity on the ball throw. Ida aced the 50-meter dash. Deku broke his finger on his throw. Through it all, Saitama's performance was aggressively average. Then he got to the grip strength machine. He squeezed. There was a faint crunching sound and the screen went blank. It broke, he said, holding up the compressed metal. Aizawa sighed. Must have been faulty. We'll skip that one. Finally, it was Saitama's turn for the ball throw. He stepped up. He didn't wind up or brace himself. With a flick of his wrist so casual it was almost insulting, he tossed the ball. There was no sound at first, just a violent displacement of air. A sonic boom hit a second later, a deafening crack that shattered the windows of the school building behind them. The students covered their ears, watching as the ball became a speck and then vanished. It didn't arc. It just went straight up, a white bullet disappearing into the sky. Everyone stared at Aizawa, waiting for the number. The teacher looked down at his device. The screen flashed a sideways 8, an infinity symbol. Before it sparked and died in his hand, the field was dead silent. Bakugo was trembling, not with rage, but with a cold, horrifying dread. Todoroki's full attention was now locked on Saitama. Deku had dropped his notebook. Aizawa's eyes glowed a furious red as he activated his quirk, Erasure, staring right at Saitama to nullify his power. But nothing happened. Saitama just stood there, and in that moment, the horrifying truth crashed down on Shota Aizawa. His quirk wasn't working, not because it was overpowered, but because there was no quirk to erase. The kid wasn't lying. An emergency faculty meeting was called. The mood was heavy. I used Erasure on him, Aizawa explained to his colleagues. There was nothing. No flicker, no resistance. There was no quirk to erase. The boy's story, as insane as it is true. He is quirkless, that's impossible, rumbled Cementos. To generate that force without a quirk would violate the laws of physics, and yet, we all saw what he did to the sludge villain, All Might said in his small form. The power he displayed. It was absolute. Effortless. He looked at his own hand. He has the strength to shatter the world, and the disposition of a bored teenager complaining about chores. Niza steepled his paws. Which is precisely why he's here. This boy, Saitama, is a new reality. We must understand him. For now, he remains in Class 1A under Aizawa's direct observation. While the teachers were having an existential crisis, Saitama was in the UA cafeteria. He was on his third bowl of free kitsune udon, completely oblivious. He was so focused, he barely noticed Kyokujiro approach his table. Hey! Saitama, right? She asked. Saitama looked up and slurped a noodle. Yeah, that throw earlier, she said. The sound was insane. I've never heard anything like it. What was that? Saitama swallowed. I guess I put a little too much power into it. He shrugged. My bad. He immediately went back to his udon, leaving Jiro completely bewildered. The next day, on the bus to the unforeseen simulation joint, the tension was thick. Everyone kept glancing at Saitama, who was just yawning and staring out the window. Kirishima, being the friendly guy he is, tried to break the ice. Hey, man. Saitama. That was so manly yesterday. That strength is insane. How do you do it? Saitama turned his head. Oh. I did 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and ran 10 kilometers. Every day, Kirishima blinked. Right. But what about your quirk? Does it multiply your training? I don't have a quirk, Saitama said, before turning back to the window, ending the conversation. They soon arrived at the massive dome of the USJ. The space hero 13 started their speech about rescue training, but before they could finish, the lights flickered and died. A swirling, dark purple mist appeared in the plaza below. Aizawa's head snapped up. 13, protect the students. From the mist, hundreds of villains emerged. Leading them was a man covered in dismembered hands, a mist creature, and a hulking, monstrous beast with an exposed brain. The League of Villains, Aizawa breathed. The man covered in hands, Tamura Shigaraki, looked up. We went to all this trouble, and All Might isn't even here? Oh well. Maybe he'll show up if we kill a few students. Aizawa leaped into the sea of villains below. The students were warped away by the mist, scattered across the USJ. Deku, Tsuyu, and Mineta landed in the shipwreck zone, watching in horror as Aizawa, despite his skill, was finally overwhelmed by the monster. The Nomu. It broke his arm with a sickening crack. then smashed his head into the ground. Again and again, Shigaraki cackled. This is our anti-symbol of peace, Nomu. He was bioengineered to kill All Might in his prime. You stand no chance, Eraserhead. The Nomu raised its fist for the final blow. Deku and his friends were frozen in terror. The end was just moments away, and then, a new voice cut through the chaos. It was calm. It was bored. And it was slightly annoyed. Hey! You're in the way. Shigaraki stopped scratching. The Nomu paused. They both turned. Standing there was Saitama. He'd been warped to the entrance and had just walked over. In his hand was a souvenir bag with a limited edition All Might soda he'd found in a vending machine. He looked at the Nomu, then at Shigaraki. I was trying to get back to the bus, he said flatly. This is all very loud.